Hello and welcome to today's workshop. Today we're talking about cash flow in your law firm. I'd love to hear where you're from. We're just waiting for a few other people to join. But if you can pop in the chat where you're from, then and what your practice area is as well, then I can see who is here. So we're just going to get started, and people will just come into the room as they come in. So today we're talking about cash flow. So I'd love to know what your cash flow looks like right now. Cash flow can be really lumpy. So maybe yours is lumpy. Some weeks are great. Other weeks you're scraping to get the wages together or pay the GST. And it's not a good feeling, right? So what would you want your cash flow to look like instead? How much would you love to have in the account all of the time? I remember when my cash flow was really bad, all I wanted was just to have 20 grand in the cash and in the bank, and it never went below that. But over time, that built up, of course, and the bigger your firm gets, the more cash you need to just have sitting there. So, you know, it does make a big difference when you've got money in the account and that lumpy cash flow is gone. Whatever you're doing in your firm now, where there isn't a lot of cash flow, what got you here to where you are now isn't going to get you to where the change needs to be. So the systems and habits, and importantly, the mindset, isn't going to where you have been. It's going to need to change in order to change the business. So if you want consistent cash flow, you're going to have to change some things. And I'm really going to challenge you on that today. So today you're going to leave inspired with a whole toolkit of things that you can action in your business. So by the end of the workshop, you're going to have some really clear, proven strategies on how you can improve your cash flow. This is not fluff, it's real actionable stuff that you can use right away, okay? But at first, I'd really love to hear from you. I'm going to ask you some questions about how you're feeling right now about your cash flow. So you've got five options, maybe you're all of them, but let's have a look and just play this little game. So this is you about cash flow. You're exhausted, you're on the cash flow roller coaster, and it's keeping you up at night. Or maybe you feel like everyone else has figured it out, and for some reason you just keep struggling with cash flow in your law firm's account. Or maybe you're a skeptic and you're not convinced that anything you're going to do is going to change this cash flow predicament of running a law firm. Maybe you just think it is like running any business and it's not going to be any different. Or maybe you're confused because you don't understand when you've got really good revenue and profit. We've just come to the end of the financial year and you can see that you've got really good profit, but why it feels like you've never got any money and the cash flow is a struggle. Or maybe this is you, you're stressed and you can see that something needs to change, but you just don't know what that thing is that needs to change. So the real problem is if you actually look under the hood of your firm, your cash flow is still running through you. You're the one who knows whether payroll is covered this month. You're the one who notices when an invoice hasn't been chased. You're the one who's doing all of the mental math on whether you can afford that hire, because nobody else has visibility to the numbers the way that you do. So this is a structural problem when the firm completely relies on you. Um, and that's exactly why watching the bank balance more closely never actually fixes the problem. So let's have a look at some of the gaps. So we'll take a wider look at your whole firm for a moment. This framework that I come back to again and again with law firms that I work with. So there are three things that we really want. We really want purpose, profit, and freedom in our law firms. We want to be making an impact while making profit and creating freedom for ourselves. And at the center of it all is you operating as the CEO of your business, not the busiest lawyer in the building, but the leader. So this is the ideal outcome. Now, I know that this is possible because I've seen it with so many law firms that I've worked with, and I have also lived this myself as well, but not always. I want to take you back to when I was running my firm, and in 2016, I was um, standing on the side of the conversation where I was definitely stressed about cash flow. Back then, when I had my law firm, I wasn't exactly proud of where it was heading. I didn't know, I knew where I wanted to go, but I didn't know how to get there. I was attracting the wrong clients, really difficult ones, ones that didn't value our work, drained all of our energy. I couldn't retain good staff. So I was taking whoever applied. I was paying my junior lawyer more than I was paying myself. I definitely wasn't paying myself super. And I'd get home every night and put the kids to bed and keep working. And I definitely stressed about cash flow. I had no systems, no structure, and no breathing room in my firm, and everything ran through me. My kids were in after school care every day, and I'd built myself a really hard job rather than a business. And it was really consuming like my life. And the worst part was that I could see exactly what was happening, but I didn't actually know how to change it. And as I said to you before, I just wanted to have 20 grand in the bank account so that I had a buffer. That's all I wanted. Um, and at this time, everything depended on me in my law firm. There were no systems, and I was doing all of the heavy lifting. Um, and back then, the tools that we have today didn't exist. But they do now, and it's easier to make the changes today than it was then. Back then, I decided that I had to change something and that I wasn't going to let my law firm run me anymore. I wasn't going to stay up at night stressed about cash flow. I was really done with the overwhelm, poor cash flow, endless hours, and being the person in the firm that everyone relied on. And I didn't have all the answers at the time, but I knew that something really had to change. So I got super intentional, mapped out a whole lot of systems. I built a client acquisition engine that allowed clients to come in freely without me having to be the one working on referrals all of the time. I appointed a high performing team uh, with clear roles and accountability, and I plugged all the cash flow leaks. And I built a firm that could genuinely function without me being at the center of every decision. This definitely didn't happen overnight. It took a few years, and it took a lot of clarity, courage, and a change of the way that I was thinking about the business. But here is something that's different for you guys is that the systems took me and structures took me years to build because I was doing it on my own. But with the tools that we have now, you could do this in 12 to 24 months to automate your firm and to get it running like a well-oiled machine. So it's really important to know that the foundations still really matter. You need the right structure underneath everything in your firm. And if I could do it without the community coaching and tools that exist today, then you can absolutely do it. So I know that some of you know me on the call, but I'll introduce myself for those that don't. I'm Carolee, and I do wear a few hats. I am a lawyer, podcast host. I founded and ran Collective Family Law for 17 years. I was in there. I've coached more than 350 law firms, and we are also the creators of Law BizCon um, as well. And I made all of these changes in my business because I had a big why. I didn't want my kids to be the last ones picked up from after school care. And I didn't want to keep stressing about money. One of the things I really wanted at the time, I was renting and I really wanted to buy a house and I really wanted to be mortgage free. That was a big goal of mine. And I also really loved traveling. And I knew that they would just grow up really quickly, which is what they did. They grew up really fast. I wanted a business that could help me to have a great life, one where I could travel and enjoy things, where I had enough money to do that, but also enough freedom as well. So I didn't want to be locked into my business all of the time. So for those of you who follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I do a lot of traveling. And when I ran my law firm, I was often away traveling. And that was because we had great freedom and profit and cash flow as well. So, what are your three reasons? Let me know in the chat why you want to have a good cash flow. Take a moment and just write it down and let me know. Maybe it's financial freedom that you want. Maybe it's buying a house or paying off debt. Maybe it's building genuine wealth. Maybe you don't want to stay awake at night stressing about money. It could just be that having that peace for sure. No more mental doing the math at 11 p.m. about whether your payroll can clear this week. So maybe it's the ability to actually make decisions like hiring. You might be ready to have your first hire or hire someone new, but you're worried about being able to pay them. And, in law, it ebbs and flows. We're in school holidays at the moment. It tends to slow down. And so, we want to make sure you've got enough buffer there. So let me know. More time with the kids, less time at the office, 100%. So let's take a look at what's actually going on in most law firms, because the three problems that I see consistently, regardless of the firm size or the practice area or location, are these things. The first one is unpredictable revenue. So you never know what the next month is going to look like. The next is inefficient teams. And the last is burnout, the inevitable result of just carrying too much for too long. So here's what is important to understand. If you get these things right in the firm, you will stabilize your cash flow. And it's going to make a big difference. So let's have a look at it more in depth as to what you need to do. So what you want instead is you want an automated flow of clients so that you have consistent revenue and it's not relying on you to bring that work in the door. You need a high performing team that delivers consistently, autonomously without you. And you need an automated firm so that you're not the default answer to every question that's going on in the business. So this is the model that I use when I work with every law firm. So let's have a look at at where your firm is at. I just want to do something practical with you. So if you grab a piece of paper or pen, and using this traffic light here, we're going to look at 9 specific accelerators. So the building blocks that help you with your firm and your cash flow. If it's green, it's working well and it's not a concern. If it's orange, you've made some progress, but there's still work to do. And if it's red, it's not in place yet and it needs to be done. So there's no judgment here. This is just so that you can really work out where your law firm is sitting. And most law firm owners that I work with have a mixture of all three. And then we're going to really have a look at where it sits in the cash flow piece. So let's go. So the first thing is that we need to have a brand authority. So that's the first lever. This means that clients already know who you are before they pick up the phone. They come to you positioned already. They want to work with you. Next, we need an automated appointment engine. This means quality prospects are booking into your calendar without you or your team chasing them. And then we need to be a conversion king. This means that your firm has reliable, consistent process for turning inquiries and leads into quality retained clients. This needs to be super regular, happening every week. So traffic light yourself there. Are you on each of those? Brand authority, automated engine, or conversion king? A green, a orange, or a red? Next up is the team. So what we need in our law firms is a low maintenance team that are self-sufficient. They know what good looks like. They follow processes and they don't need you to be able to do their jobs all the time. We need to have delegation pro in the firm. It means that you can hand work off with confidence. You know it's just going to get done. And you know that the standard is going to be high. And last of all, we need a smooth delivery of legal services. This means that clients receive a consistent professional experience every time without you. So, where are you on each of these? Are you a green? Are you an orange? Or are you a red? The third side is your firm being more automated. So, this means that you are a data driven firm. You know your numbers weekly and clearly. You've got an automated tech stack. So, your technology is working together. It's not a collection of disconnected tools that create more admin. They save you time and resources. And then we've also got SOPs installed. So your systems and processes are documented and they're accessible for your team to actually use them. They're not sitting in a folder somewhere or being ignored or worse in your head, which I know a lot of law firm owners do store them in their head. So with all of these three in place, your firm is going to run without you. It's going to be a whole lot easier to run. So where are you? Reds, greens, or oranges there? Let us know in the chat. So, what's the likelihood of achieving your goal of um, working less, having a firm that is independent without you and has a great cash flow? Let me know where you are with that. And here is the whole picture together. So, there's a lot we could do here. We could spend an entire day going deep on every single one of these. And inside the accelerator program, that's exactly what we do. We implement all of this in your firm systematically. But today, we're just here for cash flow. And how to create a healthy cash flow in your firm. We are going to touch on a couple of points because cash flow runs across a lot of different areas in your firm. So let's talk about the real cost of cash flow pressure, not what it costs the firm on a spreadsheet, but what it's actually costing you. You're working harder than ever. The firm is growing, but the financial pressure hasn't eased. Sometimes it actually gets worse and more out of your control. If that's you, I want you to know that that's not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's just a sign that there's a leak somewhere underneath the growth. Maybe you don't have the systems in place that you need in order to keep cash flow healthy. And what we want to do today is find out where that is. So, when cash flow is unpredictable, everything else in the business feels really hard. It's a really stressful place to be when you've got poor cash flow. Hiring decisions get delayed because you can't commit to wages you're not sure that you can cover. Investments get put off, like new software or marketing spend or that extra staff member, they're all shelved. Not because they're wrong, but because you just don't feel certain enough to say yes to those things. And opportunities get missed. So the right premises, the right hire, referral partnerships, whatever it might be, or marketing opportunities, because you're being cautious by default because of the cash flow issues. But here's the distinction I want you to sit with, not because the firm isn't performing, because it's because you don't feel as the owner financially safe enough to move forward with the business. And that can keep you stuck for a really long time, which is what we want to do today is help you to become unstuck. Most business owners assume that this is a performance problem or like we're just not billing enough or we're just not getting enough work in the door. But it's not always that. It is most often a visibility problem. So you can't feel safe moving on numbers that you can't clearly see. So the hidden cost of cash flow isn't on the P&L. It's stress. It's the Sunday night anxiety. It's the month end dread. It's the constant mental calculations running through the background of your mind about whether or not you can cover wages or the big GST bill that's coming up. That was the one that always stressed me out the most was the quarterly GST or the super. I mean, now it's good because they've got super weekly or that's coming out of the PAYG. But, those bigger costs became super, super stressful. So most law firm owners that are experiencing cash flow pressure really do share the same handful of patterns. So we're going to step through some of those. Some of those are watching your bank account daily, sometimes multiple times a day, maybe just hoping that money is going to drop in and things are going to ease up. If that's you, it's not a discipline problem. It's what happens when you don't have a system telling you where you actually stand and knowing when things are actually happening. Um, Delaying your own drawings to cover outgoings is a big issue. You end up being the last person paid in the business. You don't pay yourself super. I know when I had cash flow issues in my firm, when I showed you back in 2016, around that time, certainly from the beginning of my practice up through to about 2018, I'd never paid myself any super. And it's really common that business owners don't, and then we get behind when it comes to our super savings. And like I said before, I was paying the junior more than I was paying myself. This is also common. So we don't want that to be happening in your firm. Carrying the financial position of the firm entirely in your head is another pattern. No dashboard, no weekly numbers, just running a mental tally that never switches off, even on the weekend when you're meant to be recharging and spending time with the family. Making hiring and investment decisions from a place of scarcity rather than a strategy. So good opportunities get knocked back because they're not wrong for the firm, but because there's no confidence in your numbers decision making. So here's what makes it particularly frustrating. The firm is really busy, the team is busy, the billings are reasonable. You even have a good profit and loss on your in your zero account or at the end of the year. And so on paper, everything says that it's fine. But the cash position tells a different story. That gap between how busy you are and what's actually sitting in the bank is the biggest signal that there's a leak somewhere in the business. And that gap has a cause, right? And it's totally fixable. And today we're going to go through where you're going to find those. But before we get into the leaks themselves, let's clear up a few myths because these are beliefs that keep law firm owners stuck for longer than they need to be. First up, more revenue does not equal more cash. I've worked with firms that have doubled their billings and invoicing. I've worked with firms that are $50,000 a month, and I've worked with firms that are $500,000 a month. All in between can have cash flow issues. So there's a lot of revenue there, but where is the cash? More lawyers does not equal better cash flow. Adding headcount adds capacity. And if we don't have our finger on the pulse on those numbers, it can actually cause even more cash flow problems. It adds to the overhead management load, and without the right structure underneath it, more places for cash to quietly leak out. So, growth in team size does not automatically mean that you are in a better growth position. And adding without structure equals law firm chaos. So, whether it's new team members, new services, new office, new matters, anything on top of the firm without the underlying structure is going to add to the complexity and not to the profit. True cash flow comes from three things: visibility, control, and operational discipline. Not more effort, not more revenue, those three things that's the actual lever, and that's what we're going to be walking through. So cash flow is lost quietly through unmanaged gaps. It's really one big thing or one big mistake that's happening in the firm. It's almost always a handful of small ones compounding month after month until one day the gap between busy and profitable is really impossible to ignore. So let's talk about where the cash flow gaps are leaking from. This is the part where you're really going to want to have your pen and paper for taking some notes. So there are 7 areas in law firms that cash flow can be leaking out, and I'm going to share those with you. So leak 1 is not knowing your data. Leak 2 is inefficient systems in the firm. Leak 3 is underpriced services. Leak 4 is poor billing practices. Leak 5 is the lack of financial visibility on financial performance. Leak 6 is matter scoping and scope creep. And leak 7 is client mix and matter issues. So that's the full picture. Now we're going to go through each one properly at what it looks like and why it's quietly costing you money. So let's start with not knowing your data. So here's what's happening. Decisions that get made on gut feel, not on numbers. Often we don't even know what numbers we should be looking at, and we go to the accountant at the end of the financial year, and it's too late because those numbers have already happened in the past. So financial issues don't get identified on time, they get identified retrospectively when it's too late to fix or act on anything. So there's no clear ownership of reporting and there's no accuracy on reporting. Um, this is a huge problem in most law firms, and particularly law firms that have cash flow issues. Here's why it leaks profit. Because pricing, staffing, and workload decisions are end up misaligned with what's actually happening financially. Write-offs and inefficiencies go unnoticed because nobody's looking closely enough to catch them. And once they happen, it's too late. And this is the foundation leak because if you don't have accurate data, every other decision downstream is a guess. Some of the other data that you might want to be looking at is your appointment engine data. So, what matters are coming in, where are they coming from, and what's the conversion of those. So, that's data that's really important as well on the front end of the business. And then we've got our performance data as well as our financial data that you should be looking at every single week. So, leak 2 is inefficient systems in the business. But first, let's talk about when growth outruns the structure. So, growth without structure increases three things: it increases overheads, complexity, and also management burden. And this is what inefficient systems do. They turn growth into more weight to carry rather than more profit or cash in the bank. What's happening here is that manual work dominates daily operations. Processes are inconsistent across the firm, and the tech and tools you already have are underutilized or poorly integrated. So you're paying for software that isn't actually saving anyone time. I talk to law firms all the time who have inefficient systems. I was on a call yesterday with someone who there was just so much double handling in their firm and that it was costing them so much money because it's really expensive to hire people. And if we're double handling everything manually, then that's a massive, massive cost in the tens of thousands of dollars every single year. So, why it leaks profit when you've got inefficient systems. So, time gets lost to admin instead of fee earning work. So, sometimes we have our solicitors doing, $35 an hour admin jobs. And that's absolutely leaking money right there. And it shows up as well when we have overloaded our teams with double handling or admin work that they shouldn't be actually doing, and errors, delays, and staff frustration. All of this costs you money in ways that never show up in a line item on your profit and loss statement. This you have to really dig a little deeper to find. Now, leak number 3, this is super common, and that is underpriced services. So what's happening here is that fees are based on habit, not the work that's actually being done or what it costs you to deliver the work. So discounting happens without any justification. We might have fixed fees in the firm, but things actually take way longer than we've priced it for. And the same pricing gets applied to every matter, even though there's different levels of complexity. Why this leaks profit is that your highest effort matters end up delivering the lowest returns. Teams stay busy, but margins quietly shrink underneath all of the activity. Busy and profitable are not the same thing. And this is exactly where the gap really opens up. Uh, Leak number 4 is poor billing practices. So, what's happening here is that invoicing is delayed or inconsistent. It's really unclear whose job it is to actually do the invoice, get it sent out, when it should be sent out, all of those kinds of things. Recording habits can be really poor. So, whether that's fixed fee or billable rates, or making sure that you are getting disbursements back, those recording habits are so important. And if they're done poorly, you will be losing so much money. And follow up of unpaid invoices is weak or non-existent. Again, I was speaking to a law firm owner in the last week or so, and they're just writing off so much in terms of invoices because if people don't pay, they don't have time to chase it up. They don't have any systems to chase it up, and they end up just writing it off. So there's also a quieter version of this that's really easy to miss. And that's lawyers not logging their work in progress properly. So if you are billable by the hour, if they're not actually logging it, and it could be like a quick phone call or a 5-minute email or a just this once favor for the client that they really like or that they feel sorry for, or the time just never makes it into the practice management software. It's never ever recorded, and so it's just written off before it even lands. And then even when work in progress is captured, it can be discounted before the invoice goes out. So trimmed down to be fair or to keep the client happy without anyone to stop and really ask whether that discount is justified. All of this is billing leaks. Some of them are invisible ones. You can't write off what you've never seen, like work in progress that never got put into the system. And you can't question a discount that nobody's tracking. So this is like there's tens of thousands of dollars lost here in law firms every month. So the reason this is a profit leak is if it gets lost, work that was done has never been billed and it simply disappears. Write-offs increase, and ultimately the client controls the payment process instead of you controlling it. So if you don't invoice promptly and chase consistently, you're really financing your clients' matters for free. So leak number 5 is the lack of visibility on financial performance. So this is very common in a lot of law firms. What happens here is that reports get reviewed infrequently or far too late to be act on, or people pull reports out of their practice management software, out of Leap or Smokeball, Action Step or Clio, and they don't really know what they're looking for. So I'm talking to law firm owners every week, and most of them don't know how their firm or their team members are performing. They don't know the answer to this, and they don't really even know how to work out where to find the answers. So this is a really big one. There's no separation between the 3 different things: cash flow, profitability, and capacity in your firm. And it's really important that you do know the difference. They all get lumped together and none of them sort of have a clear view. So this is a problem that gets identified after the damage is already done. And so you can't go back and fix it. The lag time between something going wrong and someone noticing it is just way too long, and decisions get made without any real financial context behind them. The other thing that we do as well is we just sometimes allow team members to underperform for months or even years. And not underperform just by a small amount, but they might only be performing at like 50% or 60% of what they should be doing. Leak number 6 is matter scoping and scope creep. So what's actually happening here is that cost agreements are vague from the outset, and then work quietly expands without any adjustment to the fee. Staff are unsure of when or whether they're allowed to escalate scope issues, or they just keep working on the matter, doing work even though it's not in the cost agreement that they're going to do those things for the client. This is unpaid work and it just becomes normalized. It just becomes part of the job. And so your lawyers will be saying to you, we're so busy, so stressed, we've got so much on. But when you look at the numbers, they're not making billable. So why are they staying back late and are so stressed, but they're only able to produce about 3 hours work a day? What is actually going on? What happens here is that margins erode silently, matter by matter, without anyone flagging it. This is a really big problem. Now, the final one is the matter and types and mix of matters. So, what's happening here is that low margin work gets accepted out of habit. Um, I had an example of this happen in the last week or so where I was helping a client and they're making really good profit on the majority of their matters, but they keep allowing small matters of kind of work that they don't even do creep in. Those types of jobs are high maintenance. The clients are high maintenance. They drain resources massively. To what you're actually getting paid to do the work. And the reason is that it's not necessarily work that you do all the time. So it's really slow, takes you a lot of time to get the work done, and you're really making no profit at all on it. It's just taking time. So with this, there's no real clarity on which matters are actually driving profit in the firm and which aren't. And you just accept all work, but not all work is equal. So why it leaks profit is that the firm ends up busy but commercially unhealthy. Activity is high and often stress is high, but efficiency is really low. So that's all of the seven individually, and each one is really manageable, but together unaddressed, they're what's standing between you and a cash position that you actually want. So now that you know about the leaks and what the leaks are, let's talk about what you're actually going to do about them. This is where we're going from awareness to action. So, number one is review each checklist item with your leadership team, or if that's just you, go through each one and review them and see where you stand. You could even use that the red light, orange light, green light on those seven and really have a look at where you are in your firm. Number two is to prioritize three key focus areas for the next 90 days. So, not all seven at once. It's too much to deal with all seven, but pick three or so that really need work and focus on those. And then make sure that you assign responsibility to someone in the firm to take care of it and a KPI. Make it really clear as well as what done looks like. So that it's someone's clear job and not everyone's vague responsibility, because then things just never get done. And fourthly, you can track your monthly progress. So it's really that simple. The other thing that you can do is you can book a call with our team and we can really help you clean some of this up. This could be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, found in your law firm every year, depending on the size of your firm. So it's definitely worth a call. Someone from my team will drop a link and we can help you sort it out. So before I go through exactly how to fix each of these, let's anchor the key takeaways. So cash flow isn't about doing more. It's just about doing things in a smarter way. Small tweaks in your firm result in really big returns. You don't have to do a complete overhaul of your firm or dump the whole thing in order to have a meaningful shift. Okay, so we're just doing small tweaks to get there. What you need to do is optimize your law firm. So it's good news, because what it means is that the changes ahead are not overwhelming. They are super achievable. And especially if you've got us on your side, for example, where we can help you out in the accelerator program, we've got all the tools to make it really easy. So let's start with your data. So what you need to do is establish a scorecard. So these are the sorts of things that we help you to do in Accelerator. We get a scorecard working in your law firm so that you've got the numbers in front of you every single week in real time, which means that you're not going to be leaking profit out of all of those areas. We focus on about 15 key numbers, including things like inquiries, conversion rates, average fees, your utilization rate, what resources you've actually got in the firm, like how much you should be making each week and month, work in progress and debtors. We can help you get all of that really under control. And you review those numbers every single week. It's really important that one person is assigned to be responsible for that data accuracy. You'll be tracking write-offs, write-downs, and what reason, not just totals. And you're going to be able to compare over time how things are moving in your firm. The good thing about this is that everything will be done with data and not by your gut feel, which is often not right. For inefficient systems, you're going to document all of your workflows through from inquiry or lead right through to the completion of a matter. You're going to standardize all the recurring tasks in your firm. You're going to have centralized templates, precedents, and checklists for everyone in the firm to use, right from your marketing right through to accounts, admin, operations, and your legal team. And you're going to automate repeat work so that you've got efficient systems, and where we can, we're going to use tech rather than people because people are expensive. And so we want to make sure that you're as efficient as possible and remove all the bottlenecks in your law firm. And particularly if you're a bottleneck as a law firm owner, which a lot of us can be the biggest bottleneck, we're going to remove that piece as well so that things are running really smoothly. For underpriced services, you need to review your fees against actual time and cost to deliver, not what you charged last year, not what such and such down the road is charging, just because everyone else is charging that. Take it from me. Most law firm owners don't have systems in place. They don't use data, and a lot of them are undercharging. So don't go copy what everyone else is doing because it might be wrong and you'll be doing the same. They're also pricing wrong. We're going to group matters into pricing bands and increase pricing for high risk or high effort work, and introduce tiered scoped based pricing, so that you reduce discounting and make sure that there's systems and processes in place for that. We're also going to make sure that you're not losing money through your poor billing practices. So we're going to set up non-negotiable billing timeframes that happen, and not just billing, but then invoicing when you expect the client to pay and when you're going to stop work, chase the client up for work, etc. Sorry, chase the client up for money if they haven't paid. We're going to make sure you've got money in trust up front so that you are not losing money or getting debt, because if you're allowing clients to do that, then you're going to end up with a cash flow problem. We're going to clarify internally who's responsible for billing, and make that super clear, because what I see in law firms is that sometimes it can be a little bit messy. This person does this and this does this and the owner still does this. We're going to centralize it and make it super clear and make someone responsible for it. We're going to analyze the write-downs to find the root causes, not just the total, and then implement consistent, unemotional debtor follow-up, so that you get the money that you're owed, so that everything from invoice becomes receipted, which is so important. And then we're going to go back to that quieter leak that we talked about, work in progress that isn't logged, or the work in progress that gets discounted before you might even know that it's being discounted, and fix that. So Fixing the billing timeframes doesn't help if the time has never been captured. So this is a really big one that we need to get to the bottom of in your law firm and find out where that money is leaking. For visibility on financial performance, we're going to conduct weekly financial leadership reviews, and not just at the end of the year. We're going to separate your cash flow, profitability, and capacity reporting so that it's really clear what is what. And we're going to track things like your break even, not just for your firm, but for individuals in your firm, individual producers, and your target margins as well. And identify which costs are fixed and which are variable in your firm. And use forward-looking forecasts, not just historical reports. You can't fix what was in the past. That's where it becomes really frustrating. I remember having a really huge year one year where I thought I'd worked so hard, but then the finances didn't say that. The finances said I'd lost 50,000 in profit. And it was just so disappointing. But because I wasn't doing weekly reporting, it was too late in June or July to fix it. So for matter scoping and scope creep, we need to tighten cost agreements with clear inclusions and exclusions from the start. Not just cost agreements, but also the language that you're using with the client so that on the outset they know what to expect. And becoming more and more comfortable with being really clear with clients what to expect in their legal service. So we're going to introduce also scope change triggers. So train our team to identify and escalate scope creep and don't leave it to instinct. There's a lot of habit here too, making sure that we do everything the right way when we're using our practice management software, and in matters recording that scope creep in there. We're going to normalize fee variations. So raising one isn't awkward. It's not awkward when you have to send out a new cost agreement if that's been discussed earlier. And another thing that's super helpful is using staged billing tied to milestones and reviewing scoping issues during matter debriefs so the pattern doesn't keep repeating. And for mixed matters and matter types, we're going to map out and rank all of your matter types by profitability and effort properly with numbers. We're going to identify the work that drains time without a return. We're going to gradually over time reduce misaligned or low margin work rather than cutting it overnight. And so really get your firm aligned with what kind of work do you really want to be doing, and what work is paying you well. And then from here, you can go back and refine your marketing to attract those higher value matters, and set clear acceptance criteria for new matters. You don't have to take on every client that comes to you with a problem. The more niche we got in my firm, the more profitable it became. As soon as we stopped doing all of those little things, even within our niche, we stopped doing things that didn't work for our firm. So, and we need to align staffing to the works that's actually profitable, because not every producer can do every area of practice, as you know, and sometimes we just fumble our way through and it's just not profitable. So there are 7 leaks, 7 fixes, and none of them require you to work harder. They just require you to work differently. So I want to ask you something before we move on, and that's how did you learn to run your law firm? Think about it genuinely for a moment. We all spent years in law school, but I can tell you that those years did not help us running our law firm. And often we've been working in other practices, and some of those practices have been run really poorly. And that's where we learn how to run our own practice by watching others, and then we go and run our own practice. Some we might have read or kind of fumbled our way through learning how to run a business. but most of us figure it out on the job, right? And we make mistakes as we go. I certainly did. And those mistakes can cost time and money and energy because there is no roadmap. So here's the thing. This isn't a reflection on your capability as a lawyer or law firm owner. It's a reflection on the fact that legal training does not include business training at all. The firms that grow the fastest are not the ones with the most talented lawyers. They're the ones where the owner decides to get serious about running the business as they are practicing law. And that's the decision shift that I am really talking about, and the decision shift that I made and so many others as well make as they join the accelerator program. So this practitioner doubled her revenue in the first 6 months of the program. And as she describes, something I hear consistently is that generosity really matters. This is not a program where you just get access to a library of content, and then you're left to figure it out alone. You get real engagement, real support, and you get someone who's genuinely lived inside an operational like reality of a law firm and what it's like to grow one from scratch to right through to a sale of like a successful sale and exit of a law firm. So that's specifically what makes Accelerator difference. General business coaching is everywhere, but coaching that understands billing models, law firms, the people that we're hiring, team structure, client dynamics, and all the different practice areas, that's an entirely different thing. Um, while questions are coming in, I just want to share with you a couple of other results. So, Catherine joined Accelerator in January, and by June, 5 months later, her firm had grown by over 40%. But what she says beyond the numbers is something that's really important, and that's the networking inside the program, which is the best surprise. Realizing that there are other law firm owners in exactly the same position that you're in, and people that you can learn from who have been there before, who genuinely understand what you're dealing with. One of the things that I really struggled with in my practice, particularly in those first sort of 6 or 8 years, was feeling really lonely, like I was the only person to make decisions, and not really having anyone to talk about anything outside of the law practice. Because you can't always talk to your staff about some of these bigger decisions that you have to make when it comes to your law firm. So, surrounding yourself with other peers is a really awesome investment. Both of these law firm owners here have teams, and they were struggling with their teams. They're super high maintenance, and they didn't know how to get their team to be autonomous and not rely on them for everything. But after implementing the strategies that we put in place, they were able to step away from the business and spend more time with their families. So that's awesome. So everything that we've covered today, as you can see, cash flow sits across a lot of these areas of your firm, and it's not just one fix because it's usually not just one thing. So this is the complete picture. Um, Most law firm owners that I work with are strong on one or two, but not all. And the accelerator program is where we walk through each and every single one of these and systematically implement, support, and coach you on how to get it working really well. So, what would a genuinely great 12 months look like for you in your law firm? Have you thought about, especially as we've just kind of turned over a financial year, have you thought about, I would love my firm to look like this finance wise in 12 months from now, like this for freedom wise in 12 months from now, or this in impact? Who would you love to be employing? What kind of clients would you love to be onboarding? What does your cash flow and your bank account look like in 12 months from now? Um, because 12 months is going to pass whether you do something about it or don't. Either way, in 12 months, you're going to have some sort of result, and it could be the same as the last 12 months, or it could be something totally different where you're thriving and really loving your firm. So I've shared with you some law firm owners' results from the Accelerator program. Every single one of these people sat exactly where you are right now. They had a functioning firm, but they knew that something had to change because it was stressful and difficult. And they made the decision to stop waiting until things settled down, because they had learned that things do not settle down on their own. They have to make changes. And for most people, we don't know what those changes are. That's why stepping into a coaching program like Accelerator is so helpful. So the next question is whether or not you would love to be the next case study over the next 12 months. Would you love to be able to write a testimonial or sit down with me and have a coffee and say, you're not going to believe it, Carolee. In the last 12 months, I've achieved this, this, and this. That is what I love from law firm owners. I love to hear how you've been able to improve your firm and your lifestyle, because we're not in our law firms just to be working. We're in our law firms to have more financial freedom, more time freedom, and to make a bigger impact in the community. So I want to be really honest with you about something before I tell you the next step. I didn't build Scalable Law to sell a program. I built it because I know from personal experience what it feels like to have a law firm that's consuming your life and stressing you out, to be working at 10 p.m., to feel guilty every time you take time off. And I also know what it feels like to be on the other side as well, to have a firm that functions without you and doesn't need you all the time, to lead a team that takes ownership, to look at your numbers every week and feel really calm rather than anxious, and to grow a firm where at the end I was only working about 10 hours a week. So it was giving me a great lifestyle, and I was spending most of my time working in Scalable Law. So the shift is totally possible. It's not overnight, it's not without work, but it's 100% possible. And it's what every firm that I work with is building towards. So what I want for you genuinely is a law firm and a life that you really love, one that supports your life and your family rather than it consuming you, one that grows sustainably and gives you profit and freedom, that you've built in, and that's the reason that you've probably built your law firm in the first place. So you can book a strategy call with us. So that would be the next step. It's a totally free call. It's 15 minutes, and we're going to look at your firm specifically, where you are right now, what's creating the most friction in your firm, and what the next 12 months could look like if you built out the right infrastructure. So this is not a sales call, it is a strategy conversation. We don't sell you anything on this call. If Accelerator is a right fit for you, we will tell you that clearly and we will book another call with you. If it's not the right fit for you, we'll point you towards something that's going to serve you better. What it will give you, regardless of what you decide, is clarity, a clear picture of the biggest leverage points and what it would take to move them. So it's just a quick 15-minute call. It's not with me, it's with someone from my team who understands the Scalable Law frameworks and works with all of our clients. So the other thing too, before I open up questions, so if you've got any questions, please let me know. But I want to also address just something that's sitting in the back, probably in the back of your mind. So coming into Accelerator is a commitment, and we want to take the risk out of it as much as possible. It is a financial commitment and it's a time commitment. What we love is that when people come in, that they are committed to making changes in their law firm, and they're committed to reaching their goals of what their best law firm and best life looks like. But if you join the program, attend the one-on-one onboarding call, which is with me, you receive your personalized game plan and you start our coaching calls, and within 30 days you think I'm just not a right fit or it's not the right time, then you can absolutely leave the program with no questions asked. So I'm not interested in holding anyone in the program if it's not serving them. What I'm interested in is working with law firm owners who are genuinely ready to build something different and to do it properly for the period that we work together. So the risk is minimal. The upside, as you've heard from people who have been through this, is really significant. It can totally change your life. I have law firm owners writing to me saying, "Thank you so much for your program. Because of you, we've been away on holiday for 5 weeks and we haven't even opened our email," for example. So that kind of freedom is what I'm all about helping law firm owners gain. So, right, let's get into your questions. You can drop them in the chat and I'll work through as many as I can. Thanks, Ty. It's good to see you on the call. If you've got any questions, let me know. I'm just having a quick look back. So there is a booking link there if you want to jump on a call with us. So one question is, can I complete the program in less than 12 months? No, absolutely not. People stay longer than 12 months most often because building and scaling a law firm that no longer relies on you, that has a super healthy cash flow, that you've built out all those 9 accelerators and it's working like a well-oiled machine takes longer than 12 months. However, our 12-month commitment is designed to give you a really strong foundation, the right tools, and a proven framework to set your firm up for sustainable growth. By the end of the program, you will have implemented the key systems, processes, and strategies that allow you to continue scaling with confidence in your firm. So the group coaching is every week on Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. Australian time, or Brisbane, Sydney, Australian Standard Time. Then we have masterclasses, we have hot seats, and we have all of our group coaching all at the same time, 10 o'clock on Thursdays. We also have other things going on as well, such as at the moment, we've got a coach helping us implement AI. So that's a separate thing that's happening once a month on a Tuesday. So if you want to be implementing AI in your law firm, that's what he's helping us do. And we also have in-person events, one's coming up in Melbourne and on the 6th of August, where we spend a whole day or 2 days working on your law firm. So you go away with a whole lot of stuff that you just gotta implement straight into your firm as soon as you get back to the office. So what if you can't attend? Calls are recorded. So if you can't make the sessions, which some people can't because they're in court or doing other things, you have access to the recording. But the firms that get the best results really are the ones that show up live as often as they can. The interaction and real-time coaching for your firm. So when we're talking directly to you about your firm, that's where they get the best results. People stay longer than 12 months. There's no fixed end date to Accelerator. Members continue as long as they want to. Many stay beyond the 12 months, not because they haven't achieved amazing results. Usually they stay because they have achieved amazing results and they want to achieve more. So the relationship doesn't end when you hit your first milestone. It continues to go on, and you will get lots of new friends when you're in our program as well. So the Accelerator program is designed around group coaching because it delivers way better results than one-on-one coaching. If you have one-on-one coaching, you only have my experience. And while I can certainly coach you, being in a group setting, you don't just learn from me or the other coaches in our program. You also gain real life insights of law firm owners who are running their firms right now. And they're successfully implementing the strategies. They might be a few steps ahead of you. You can see what they're doing and the results that they're getting. And this helps you to go much further. You benefit from real world examples from different firms at different growth stages, proven solutions that and challenges that you may not have faced yet. And you also get a supportive network of law firm owners from all over the place, lots of different practice areas. So you do still receive personalized guidance during the live coaching calls and targeted feedback from our team specifically for you. So the honest answer to this is it depends significantly on the firm and whether or not they've implemented. And I'm always going to be transparent about this. The firms that see strong results, like the 40% revenue growth or the doubled revenue, these are the ones that show up and actually do the work and implement consistently. The framework absolutely works when people apply it. The firms that don't see those results are ones who just stay in the learning mode and never implement. So it's no good just watching and then not actually implementing anything. This is why we've built an accountability inside the program to make sure that you continually move forward. No, you can't join the program any time. You've got to be invited into the program. We make sure that you're a good fit in the program first, and the spaces each month are limited because we do have one-on-one calls with all of our people that join. So there's only a limited amount of space every single month. And when we onboard you with our one-on-one call, it helps you to build momentum, and I get to see exactly where you're at in your firm. So then we can continue to coach you and make sure that you're making progress in the program. Yes, this is a business coaching. It's business coaching, so it is tax deductible. So we're coming to the end of today, and I just want to leave you with something really simple. So you came here today because something in your firm is not quite working. Cash flow, for example, might be a struggle because that was today's topic, and it's just not working the way that you want it to. Maybe the growth is there in your firm, but freedom isn't there in your firm. Maybe the team is in place, but the systems are not, and your team is really heavily reliant on you. Maybe you've been doing all of the right things, but the results aren't reflecting your effort. And so now, after today, you've really got a clear framework for what an operational law firm looks like. You know all of the 9 accelerators and what needs to be implemented. You've got a whole lot of tools today on how to change your cash flow situation. And we would love to help you to be able to do that as well. So you know what the path forward looks like. The only question is whether you are going to take it or not. So the strategy call is there for you. If you want to grab one, it's 15 minutes. It's going to give you exactly the clarity that you need on where your firm is and what you should be doing to move yourself and the firm to the next forward. So regardless of whether you want to join Accelerator or not, it's always great to jump on one of those calls. And while all of this is fresh in your mind. So the link is there. Thanks, Sunshine, for dropping that in. It's been great having everyone on the call today. I will look forward to hearing from you and seeing you all again soon. All right, bye.